today is kind of a cool thing because I want to show you the value of LinkedIn, right? So one day I get into my LinkedIn account and I get this random message from somebody I've never really met before and says, hey, I want to learn more about what y'all are doing at UNT and kind of get engaged in what's going on, and I'd like to get together for coffee or a smoothie or something like that, and let's just chat. And as my son would say, so we could chop it up, if anybody knows what that means. So I'm like, sure, I'm game. My wife's like, you're meeting some strange person on LinkedIn and you're gonna meet them and they can be a wacko, and you know, so she's like tracking me, making sure I'm gonna come home and all that kind of stuff, or maybe she doesn't want me to come home, I don't know. But I meet up, and so I met Sherman, and so we met for a smoothie, actually Smoothie King, and had an amazing conversation, and that conversation led to where we are kind of today, in that I learned so much about passion and love for the industry, passion and love for students to be better, and just, you know, learned that Sherman's actually a really good human being, partly because he has 6 kids, which is amazing. I'm the youngest of 6, so I know what that means. I can tell you that I have elderly parents that are in their early 90s, and right now we're taking care of my parents, right, as a family. And so that's the benefit. Hopefully your kids will take care of you. Yeah, it's good to know. You know, you're probably right now you're thinking, why did I have 6 kids? But you know, later on when you gotta get your diaper changed, you're gonna be proud you have 6 kids, right? So it works out pretty well. So Sherman's gonna come in. What's cool about his presentation today, he has no slides. So he's just here to chop it up with y'all on what's going on in the industry and what it means to just kind of have a career in supply chain management.
Yep, I am. All right, so thank you all for having me. So just by a show of hands, I'm just curious to know, in the classroom, how many freshmen are in the classroom? Okay, sophomores. Juniors? Okay, wow, and seniors. Okay, all right, that lends some perspective. Have any of you done an internship yet? Okay, thought about it, okay. Yeah, I just kind of want the level set to see. So my name is Sherman Barnes. As he said, I've been in the industry for about 19 years. I started in 2005, which is like, you all probably, you know, some of you look like you may have been maybe my age, but some of you were probably like in middle school or something when I started. But I started at a company called C.H. Robinson, so I'm on the freight side of the business. So what that means is we do full truckload, we do flatbed, and we do intermodal. I've also done air, ocean, and custom brokerage. So I've been with C.H. Robinson, UPS, and I was the vice president at Schneider, so the orange trucks that you've seen up and down the highway. And currently I'm a VP at a company called Bennett Motor Express. And there we're doing domestic truckload, so truckload, flatbed, heavy haul, over-dimensional, the whole 9. So when I graduated from college in 2005, I did an internship, but I just moved to Atlanta with one of my friends. And the first people that hired me was C.H. Robinson, and with them, it's a sink or swim mentality. So the first thing I think I want to talk about skills that are becoming important in the field, but I want to talk about how I started off. And the importance of developing relationships. So that's why I asked you about an internship. If you can, I would definitely try to get an internship in an area of interest. I'm sure at this college, it's a great college, and even at my college that I went to back home in Mississippi, they do have partnerships with different companies. They can help you get a partner, they can help you get an internship, but it behooves you to take ownership of getting the internship yourself. They're there to help guide you and help assist you, and they can provide coaching, but don't think, well, hey, I'm gonna put it all on UNT or all on a professor that I know to get the internship. See what you can do to secure an internship, and what that's gonna do is kind of give you a taste of the real world of whatever it is that you're trying to do. So my internship was with a railroad company. Now I ended up not being interested in the railroad industry, but it did teach me about shipping to see what aspects of the industry that I wanted to get involved in. So that's kind of my first tidbit that I'll share with you about being in the industry. The second thing, as I said, at C.H. Robinson, we did more domestic truckload and flatbed, so I didn't, school is there to teach you and you're there to learn a lot of information, but the best things that you're gonna learn are gonna be from getting out there and getting your hands dirty in the industry. Like, of the internships that you all do, did anyone do them in transportation industry, or was it just business related one. So who did you do yours with?
DHL.
DHL, good company, good company. Did anybody else do one? Okay. All right. Well, if you can, that's something that I definitely would suggest. Because again, you're going to develop relationships. You're going to learn what it is the day to day to do within that aspect, and then you're just going to see what it's really like. Because sometimes I had friends that did internships that were in the same industry as me, and they went and did the actual work of the internship, and they changed their mind. You know, or maybe they thought they were going to focus on data analytics, or maybe they thought they were going to focus on the supply chain, or maybe they thought they were going to focus on the transportation side of it, and they were like, yeah, I went in and saw what they did, and I wasn't interested in that, but actually I'm interested in this aspect of it. So for me, I was interested in supply chain and logistics, but I didn't know that I was good at sales. But I was scared of sales because there's a quota, and you have numbers to hit, there's expectations and whatnot. And there's expectations in every job, but I was just a little bit, scared about that. So when I was in college, I had a professor named Dr. Stammerjohn, and I asked her, hey, like, what's something that you think I should do based on my skill sets or whatever? And she said, Sherman, you're a salesman. And I'm like, nah, I don't want to do that, because I was, a little bit scared about quotas, all of those things that would kind of scare you. But she ended up being right, and so I just went for it. In terms of skills that are becoming important, let me get to my deck before I go off on another tangent. The skills I would tell you are just an observation that I have. Is that it's important that you learn to engage with people. Like, I know you all use technology a lot, the phones a lot, and that's great, and we use technology from a LinkedIn perspective. But it was for us I wanted to physically meet him and then continue to follow up with him versus everything online. You understand? So use it as a mechanism to catch up with people. That's the beauty. When I was coming up, we were not able to reach out to people in other states, in other areas, in other countries. So that's a gift that you guys have, but don't stick to just online. Like, take that opportunity to meet someone online and then invite them out for a cup of coffee, invite them out, hey, I want to pick your brain, I want to whatever it may be. It's really just that easy. You will find that most people, particularly successful people, they're honored to have you ask about their story, ask what advice they could give you. They would love to do it. So don't be intimidated. Another thing that I think about as well is being determined. So just because somebody says no the first time, just because someone doesn't, I called them and they didn't respond, or I sent a message on LinkedIn and they didn't respond. Follow back up. Like, show the follow up. People like myself are extremely busy. They got families. They may be juggling multiple jobs. They may have kids that are at UNT and they're helping to pay for college, whatever it is. So they're going to be extremely busy. So it's not always a neglect, or they looked at you and saw your face and I'm not going to waste time on them. Sometimes it's really just that they're busy. So make sure that you're following up. A third thing is that you know more than you think you know. When I was a junior and senior in college, I didn't know as much as I knew. Your background is actually going to help you in some unique way. So I'll give you an example. My father was a shipping and receiving supervisor my whole life. So he worked for Levi's, he worked for Yellow Freight, and sometimes during the summer I'd go and drive the forklift. I didn't want to be in supply chain. I didn't like it at the time. It was just a good summer job. But even me being able to see him in a warehouse, I inadvertently learned some skills and things that were going to be helpful to what I did. Even when I was in college, I worked fast food jobs, whatever it is. So all of those, and what I learned there, a sense of urgency. I learned how to adjust to customer demands. I learned how to appease an irate customer. All of the skills that you know more than you think you know. You have more skills than you think you have, and I want you to feel encouraged and emboldened to, first of all, like, go out into the world and try to take what you want. Like, follow up. Don't just take no for an answer. I don't mean like call somebody every day and blow them up. But if maybe they're busy. Maybe they didn't see your resume when you sent it. Maybe they put it in there and they forgot to reach out or whatever. So assume the best and assume that people are helpful, and then the world will move out of your way and actually start doing things towards that. So skills that are becoming important in the field. I'll get to that. So in supply chain and logistics, we have historically been what I would call an antiquated business. We use technology in some ways, but it's definitely still a good old boy. When I came in, blue collar kind of, we're gonna just write it down on paper. We're not gonna use technology piece. and the world kind of moved ahead of us, but now that's becoming critically important. Like, so even classes in supply chain logistics, they weren't around. It was a newer thing when I was coming up. So the integration of technology and what's called SKU level visibility, or like purchase order visibility. So think about the way that Amazon operates. Those were all new things. Where I don't, when they say your package is going to come, and they give you like a 10-day window of when it may come, and then you don't know what day it's going to come, and you don't know what time it's going to come. Amazon or whatever changed the game. So now it's a technology game. So that's definitely more and more a part of the world that we're in, is the utilization of technology. And there are more companies that are starting to offer, trucking companies, logistics companies, consumer packaging good companies, technologies that can help them get SKU level visibility, so that when Sherman's wife places an order, which she does all the time, places an order online and wants to know where it is and when it's going to be there, they're trying to give us that capability as well. So some of you are here in data analytics aspects. Like, I don't know what some of you are in supply chain, maybe is your major, but I don't know what area of expertise you're looking into. But the tech space is definitely becoming more important. I would also say what becoming more important is, again, I hate to go back to it, but being networked. So we're right now, the market, we're in the longest freight recession on record. I've been in the business, like I said, since 2005. And so when COVID happened, everyone bought more and more and more products. So more and more trucks got added to the industry. More and more people got into the industry. And people are spending less money. I know you can't necessarily tell in like a Texas that's growing quickly, but people are actually spending less money. So my industry has been the trucking side of it. We've been in a recession for the past 29 months, and it's showing no signs of abating. So because of that, you do need to be networked and flexible, because your job that you may get, maybe the role will change, and you may not like it, or you want to find another opportunity. So the more people that you know, the more people that you're getting to know in the industry, you'll be able to be flexible. You get an opportunity to speak in front of a class, which could lead to a meeting with someone else. Or I can't tell you how many people that I've met from using technology, particularly LinkedIn, but even going to events. So Dallas Startup Week has a focus on supply chain. So I'll go pop my head in, see who I meet, collect the card. And the biggest thing is on the follow-up. Like I can't stress it enough. I know I keep saying that, but following up and making your presence felt, like, don't assume that they're there to help, assume all those things, but somebody's gonna like you and they're gonna give you a shot. So that's what you're trying to do. And that's something that I wish I already kind of went through the things that he wishes he knew when he first started out. That's what I wish I knew, was how helpful people are willing to be if you reach out to them and you put yourself out there. Just an observation, I know some of us are extroverts, but in society I see with younger people more of an inversion, I would say introvert-ish. Just an over-reliance on tech, and I won't get into that, like I don't want to sound like a parent or nothing, but the purpose of technology is to make you more efficient at a thing, and the thing that you need to be most efficient with in supply chain and logistics is your connections with other people, and it's just very difficult to establish that online. You can do it, but it's got to be to meet the person physically. Any big directions that the field is following? The technology side of it is really heavy. Another issue that's really been I'll give you an example of how technology is helping to try to solve a problem. So something that's happening too is cargo theft. You got tech guys, all different types of guys overseas that are getting really smart about impersonating a carrier. I'll give you a prime example. So I had a load stolen, and I've never had a load stolen in my whole career. I've been doing this since 2005. I never had a load stolen. And this carrier, we assigned the load to a carrier, which is basically a trucking company. And someone got his information and called him and said, hey, instead of delivering in Arizona, which is where he was supposed to deliver, they had him deliver in a warehouse in LA, in downtown LA. And so we called the driver to say, how did the delivery go, whatever. He said, oh, well, I delivered there yesterday. I'm like, well, it's supposed to deliver today. Like, what happened? Oh, well, somebody called us and said that we were supposed to deliver at this warehouse. I'm like, oh my gosh. So the whole load stolen is gone. The police aren't helpful, whatever. So more and more technologies are trying to be implemented to give what I call, again, SKU level visibility, so you can track the shipment all the way down to the product level. We are not there yet as an industry, and it's not very cost effective yet, but I do see a future where it's for the data and analytics guys, where at some point it'll be some kind of technology where you can, that's cheap, easy to throw off. I'll get to you in one moment. That's cheap, easy to throw off. Maybe you can put a sticker or something where you can track a shipment and know where it is in real time. We don't really have that level of visibility fully integrated across the supply chain, but I do think that it's something that's critically important because the bad guys are getting really smart. Cargo theft is up tremendously. They're impersonating carriers. They are stealing, like, so there was a ring that just got busted in LA, and they went into a warehouse and they found like 133 pallets of like laptops, cell phones, iPads, all kind of stuff that it's a whole ecosystem. I mean, the guys are brilliant. I don't know why they're wasting their time doing something illegal. If they figured out how to do it legally, they can still make a lot of money. But just I said all of that to say, data collection, data assessment, the management of information, the flow of information, where to shipment in at any given time, that's definitely a growing trend in our industry, and we really do need it, and we're behind on it. We're behind on security implications of supply chain, and so that's why they're able to go into, I have a friend that works at Jazz 40, and they do air, ocean, and custom brokerage, and I don't know if you've heard of Jazz 40, but they just had a cyber attack. You know, well, why, like the bad guys have figured out that we control the supply chain, the movement of products, and if I can go into these weekly protected systems of a custom broker or a freight broker, I'll have access to the freight, and then I can assign it to somebody else. I can do all these manipulative things. So I think that over time, data analytics, supply chain analytics, that aspect will be something that's growing. And with us being in a recession as well, I don't want to make that sound scary. Supply chain transportation can be cyclical because we're cyclical. Because the economy is cyclical. So it goes up and it goes down. So more trucking companies are starting to step away. So I do think it's going to change at some point soon. But I just wanted to denote that this is the longest freight recession on record that we've ever seen. Usually we precede the overall market as well. But the market, it's an election year, man. They playing with who knows what's going on with the numbers. So I don't know. But yes, I wanted to share that information. And if you have questions, like let's save them to the end. If it's something that's super urgent, like kind of let me know. But I just want to kind of keep it going here, so I make sure I leave time for question and answers. So my own experience in my role and what kind of a person would be the best fit in that role. So are any of you? So who would consider yourself an extrovert? Okay. Everybody else pretty much introverts. Okay, between. Okay, but yeah, that's how I am. So I am technically I guess you would say extroverted introvert, or introverted, whatever it is. But I get empowered by being alone. But anyway, so I'm in sales. As a VP of sales, what is my job? So it is my job to go into customers and ask them what's going on in their supply chain. Are you growing? So Kellanova, I'm familiar. So are you growing? Are you sure? You guys got a private fleet, right?
No.
Okay, you don't?
Well, I work for a 3PL who's
Okay,
customers.
I got you. So, or like Nike or whatever, I'll approach them and see is there any need. Right now we're in a recession, it's not a lot of need, but are you looking to open a warehouse? Like maybe it's a customer and they've made an acquisition recently and they're trying to streamline their supply chain. Maybe it's, it could be a lot of different reasons why someone would need help. So I go in, I am the tip of the spear. My team is the tip of the spear to go in. We get told a lot of no's. That's another thing that you should get used to is being told no. And don't let somebody say boo and then you quit. You gotta learn to push. So, and that's whether you're in sales, because there's a sales aspect to whatever you do. And I'll get back to what I do for work, but I'm just thinking through things that I would want to tell you in your world is not only don't quit, but learn how to push, learn how to advocate for yourself and for your team. So even if you say, well, sales is not for me, I'm not gonna do that, I'm just gonna sit here and crunch the numbers and do data analytics, you're still gonna have to present to your leaders. You still may need some additional resources, like maybe the work they gave you is too much for the team and you need to hire an additional person. You're gonna have to go sell to them like, hey, here's what we've done, here's what we need to do, here's how many people we need to allocate for it, we need to hire 2 more people, and you gotta build what I call a business case just like a case study, if you will, as to why you need it and why 2 people is not enough to do the work of 5 people. And so I need to hire two people or whatever. So you got to learn to negotiate, you got to learn to sales, and you can't quit just because someone says no the first time. So I know I'm going to continue. You'll see a theme in the end of it where it's just a continual. You know more than you think you know. Learn how to push. You got to learn how to deal with people. Like people, there's a saying. One of my favorite sayings is that every dollar that you want is in other people's pockets, and they will either make you rich or keep you broke, based on how you deal with them. And so you have to learn, even if you're just dealing with numbers, even if you're just dealing with, well, all I do is just, deal with the movement of the freight. I'm not going to be dealing with sales. There is a sales component to every single job, like accounting, finance, whatever it is. I'm dealing with those people all the time. And we get in a room and we have to negotiate. Like there are contracts in our business where I have to negotiate back and forth. The lawyer says, hey, we can't do this. Or hey, accounting may say, this customer wants 60-day payment terms. We can't do it. I'm like, well, can we meet it halfway? Can we do 45? Whatever it is. So it's all a negotiation. So that's something that's important. So negotiating skills are important. Dealing with people is important in my current role. Learning how to manage your time. Learning how to manage your time. I'm sure you guys have seen it. So do any of you, I don't want to keep asking the questions, but do any of you have jobs or whatever and going to school? You have other responsibilities? Yeah, okay. So you have to learn how to manage your time. You got to live by the calendar. I live by my calendar. If it's not in the calendar, it's not going to happen because I'm going to forget. I'm working, I got kids, I got other things I'm doing. If it's not in the calendar, so like right now, if he says, hey, let's get together for lunch, I'm going to open my calendar, like what day we talking about? What are you looking like? Boom, boom, boom. I'm put it in immediately, because otherwise we'll walk away and then we won't follow up, and then we'll never meet. And I don't want that to stand in between me and an opportunity. So I take the time to stop and do that. So learn how to manage your schedule and live by your cap. Do not leave anything to chance, because whatever you want is already chance enough. And so you want to control what you can control. So what I can control is that I'm going to put it in my calendar right now that we're going to do lunch. I can control that. Now I can't control if we meet in the future, maybe we don't, whatever. But life is already enough chance. So you want to try to bring order to whatever it is that you're doing. And that's essentially, if you think about it, what we're doing in the supply chain. We've been really loose and wild in trucking, and we're bringing more data, more analytics, more order to the supply chain. And Amazon, we got to thank Amazon for that. We have some other people that we got to thank for that as well. And there's always some good books too that I can put, that I can suggest as well for some of you that want to kind of nerd out in supply chain. I can help you there, because I had to become a student of the business. Because even if you get a job, they're not going to be able to teach you everything. Your teachers can't teach you everything. Your boss can't teach you everything. And the business world is constantly evolving. So as an example, what if there's a big tariff or whatever that comes against, China, and then we got to circumvent China to go somewhere else? Like, that's a change. Like your teacher couldn't have taught you that. Your boss couldn't have taught you that. They can only teach you about the past and what's happened historically. But in the future, you got to learn how to, problem solve in real time and trust your gut. Trust that you know more than you think you know, and whatever you don't know, you can ask people their advice. But at the end of the day, it's your call. Like when we're hiring you, if we hire you, right? We want to use. We want to teach you and train you in our ways, but we want to learn new ways of doing things and new ways of thinking of things. That's where new technologies come out. So when I brought up Amazon and that they made everyone in the trucking industry step their game up, they came from a different lens and they brought new ideas that became the standard, because the best way of doing something, the most efficient way of doing something is gonna win, and that's what we're looking for. And we're not too proud to change or do something different if we found a more efficient or cost-effective way of doing it. Another thing that I do in my role, as I mentioned, is, how can I say this? You have to be a psychologist a little bit. That's probably the best way I know to put it. That at a company sometimes, yes, you need to be strong. I told you that. You need to be persistent. Don't quit. Keep pushing. But you also, I have an adage where I say people over paperwork. So I always try to point out, if we're in the line of fire and the enemy's there and we fighting and we pushing, it's probably not time to tell me, talk about our feelings right now. But I try to, understand someone's mom died, someone had a child that's sick, whatever it is. Since I'm dealing with people, I try to understand where people are coming from, and that helps me be a better leader. And if I understand where they're coming from and they know that I care about them, then they know that I'm working, yes, for the company, but that, we have a common interest, a shared interest, and I want to see how we can work together to help the company achieve whatever it is that we're trying to accomplish. And so you have to learn to be a psychologist. You can't be as selfish as you may want to be, especially if you step into leadership, in particular in leadership. I tell my team that, you don't work for me, I actually work for you. And the reason that I say that is because of my role, a part of my role is to develop people, to solve problems for customers. And I can't do that if I don't equip my team with the resources that they need to achieve whatever the objective is that we're trying to achieve. If it's a certain level of cost savings for a customer, or if it's to increase on-time pickup or on-time delivery, or help them stand up a warehouse, or maybe they were, whatever it may be, I have to get my work done through other people. It's not all about me anymore and hitting my numbers and doing what I need. It's about other people, and so I got to be a psychologist a little bit and understand people and what their needs are and what their gifts are, and then help bring those gifts to bear on the problem that we're trying to solve. That's something that's very helpful. It's very helpful. Advice on how to progress successfully in this career path. It's everything really that it's really everything that I've shared. I think it's really everything that I've shared already, how to progress in it. Are any of you in, I'm sure you have, but the Council of Supply Chain Management Professionals, have you heard of it? Organizations that are around supply chain and logistics? And I don't know if, everybody here is not majored in supply chain, or are you? Like literally everybody, or some of you is just kind of an aspect of what you're doing? And it's been so long since I've been in school, I don't remember anymore. So you're a major in supply chain?
Yes, sir.
Anybody else's? Okay. Out of curiosity, so other people that are in here, what made you choose a class? I'm just curious. That are not supply chain. For what? For what's your major?
Financial planning.
Interesting. Okay.
Requirement for accounting.
Accounting. Interesting. Okay. See, that's new. That's new. That wouldn't have been around when I was in school. Yeah.
This is technically for a transportation management class, but I'm an aviation logistics major.
Makes sense. Okay, I'm just curious. I want to leave time for questions and answers too, so that's why I'm kind of going through fast. I like engagement. I feel like I'm preaching a sermon right now, and that's my granddad was a preacher, so I didn't like sitting in church all day. The daily life of their operation and a typical day in a life. So a daily life in my operation is in transportation. If you're in my segment, it changes every day because the load may get stolen. I didn't plan on. I had all these plans. I had it outlined. I had my lunch set up with my man's over here. I'm good. And then somebody, what? Load stolen. Crap. So I got to change my whole day up. So that's something that definitely happens. A competitor, we get a call from a customer that the competitor's taking the customer. They say, hey, we're leaving. My day changes, right? A tariff, like I mentioned in China, are we going to increase tariffs in China? I don't know. It's going to be a pretty big deal because a lot of our product comes in from China. That's going to be a really big deal. Nearshoring implications in Mexico. Because here's something interesting to know, is that Chinese companies are buying companies in Taiwan, in Mexico, or whatever, to circumvent the tariff. So that's something that you probably don't hear a lot about. That's a change, because now instead of importing things in from here to the West Coast, now I'm bringing it in nearshoring from Mexico, which changes the implications, it changes the tariffs. So it's a lot of change. So you got to be comfortable with change. Like it happens. Every day is different. In general, over time, I've been in the business for 19 years. The problems, you start to accumulate you've had so many problems that you start to accumulate a wealth of knowledge and know-how on how to deal with particular situations. but still each situation is nuanced in its own way, and so you have to learn how to, you know, navigate that. So that's definitely something I talked about. I try to meet with my team weekly in the beginning of the week to outline what it is that we're trying to accomplish for the week. You know, it could be some initiative that we're working on. If there's some customer issue that we're working on, we try to. I want to hear from each team member what their pipeline. I'm trying to choose my words here because I don't want to bore you to death. But what the sales pipeline is, and basically what that means is that you got different customers. If you're a salesperson, you're a salesperson, and this is my whole sales team right here. I need each of you to have a sales pipeline and a certain amount of customers that you're engaging with, that you're calling on or whatever. And I'm there to actually, that Monday morning, hear about where you are in the process, if you're stuck with anything, if you're in contract negotiation, whatever it is that you're doing. So I do a lot of that. I do a lot of entertaining with customers, like going out to sporting events, going out to games. I do a lot of that. I am in the Council of Supply Chain Management Professionals. I'm in the Transportation Club of Dallas, so it's some after-hours things that I do, and those things are fun. I mean, you get to know, I get to know people like him. I get to know different people that are in other disciplines at other companies. You know, some are in education, some are, you know, work for the government in transportation. So those things actually are fun. But that's something that's incorporated in my job. I get a chance to travel. Not as much as I used to travel a lot, but I travel less now. But I do get, you know, I'm visiting customer warehouses, customer distribution centers, customer supply chains, and seeing all of those different supply chains. What I like about transportation is that I have to understand your business in order to effectively ship your product. I am actually a student of business. I like business, period. Like I actually love it, and I do other entrepreneurial things. Like that's just how my brain works. But what I liked about shipping and supply chain is that you're going to be very astute in business. Because like I said, if I come in, I got to understand where you sourcing your products from, how much is that costing, you know, what's the lead time for that, you know, what's your sales turn, you know, what's your turnover, you know, what's your operating ratio, like I got to really assess your business. And so it's made me into an astute business person, like period. So for you analytics guys or anyone that's in transportation or supply chain, you're going to become good at business if you take those same business tactics and practices and apply them to your own life. So I like supply chain for that reason. And Amazon, I gotta admit, I mean, they really did put it on the map, because at first it was viewed as a cost. Just shipping it was viewed as a cost, and let me just keep that as low as I can. But what people discovered, Amazon taught and discovered, was that if I can make my product quicker than you can, or get it to the customer quicker than you can, make the friction as frictionless as I possibly can, I beat you. It's a source of competitive advantage. It's not just a cost. If I know how to get those Nike shirts and I can make them cheaper than my competitor can, and import them in cheaper, whatever, get them there quicker. You know, if I can provide you a shopping cart with recommendation, those are all supply chain exercises. You're taking data, real-time data in real time, to see what Sherman. I keep throwing my wife under the bus. What Sherman wife, all the packages that show up all the time at the door. And feed more of those things to her. That's a source of competitive advantage. So that's definitely something to think about. And also, I spend a lot of time in my typical day. Speaking of, you know, turns of inventory, and we're service oriented. So my turn of inventory is more about like accounts receivable, like how fast are we sending the POD, the proof of delivery, to the shipper, so that they can then pay us, and then we're able to, you know, the velocity of that money, you know. And so we have to stay on top of, you know, how many days outstanding are the orders out there. But in supply chain, it's a lot more complicated than that too. So I just wanted to share my life journey with you guys. If there are any questions, that'll be kind of the coolest part, I think. I hope you guys have questions. I hope I didn't bore you to death. I see my man over here like yawning. But yeah. So, and I also, and I'm gonna get to you. I'm really good on. I may start asking questions, and I got a couple of hats. This one, you don't want this one. I wore it A, and then B, your hair may fall out if you put it in after mine. But I got a couple of hats, so maybe I'll do something fun to ask a couple of questions or whatever. So, but I want to make sure everybody got time for questions. So, well, you had a question.
So, since you worked in both intermodal and trucking for either or, what do you think is the most important part for intermodal or in the trucking industry?
I wouldn't say there's a most important part. So that's a good, you reminded me of something. So at CH, most of what I've done is full truckload, flatbed, historically. But then I did intermodal at Schneider, which is rail. And then at UPS, I did air, ocean, and custom brokerage, which is international. So I've basically done all modes of transportation. I wouldn't say there's a more important mode. Now, if we talked about what's the quickest mode, I can answer that. And the reason why I wouldn't say there's the most important mode is because we need all of those solutions. There's no one solution that'll help.
I wasn't saying this is the most important mode. I was more saying in those modes, what is the most important to for them? Like
Okay,
cost
I got you.
effectiveness.
Okay, so air is going to be the quickest way to get it here overseas, but it's going to be the most expensive, right? I mean, you charter even if you get a charter a whole plane or like a lot of freight ships on passenger planes, like as long as it's not like military weapons or whatever, and it has to get it has to get vetted a different kind of way. But then it can there's on every passenger plane for the most part, there's packages flying under there. It's cargo on that plane, even though you're going from New York to LA, like it's packages on there. That's the quickest shipping mode, period, like hands down, but it's the most expensive. Rail, and then after that, I would say, and this is internationally now, and then there's ocean. Ocean goes slower, that'll take weeks to get there, but it's cheaper. Now that it depends on what's going on in the market. It can go up and down, the price of it, but ocean goes slower, but it's cheaper. Let's take that in the domestic perspective. Truckload is faster. It's the fastest mode that you can ship, but it's more expensive than rail. Rail goes slower. So rail is the ocean of land, and truckload is the air of land, if that makes sense. Like from that perspective.
But which is like, is it cost? Is sometimes cost important, speed important, flexibility?
It depends on what you're making. So if it's Apple, they can air freight it. Like they got the margins of sit. But if we shipping scrap metal, it's not a lot of margin in that. So they're gonna be like, well, let me truck this thing or let me do this thing in ocean.
So it depends on the product?
It depends on the product and the margin that there's in it.
You mentioned transportation right now being in a recession.
Yes, sir.
How long has it been in a recession, and when do you see it being left?
I wish I knew. So, I'd say this is month 28 or 29 of the longest freight recession on record. And that's a supply and demand thing. COVID, I mean, man, I'll be honest, we were swimming in money in COVID. Because everybody was at home, working from home, on Amazon all day, just shopping. At least my wife was, and just shopping. So, and it was a shock to the system. And then people had PPP loans and COVID money, and they was handing money. That's why we struggling with inflation now. But that's another story. So, there's too many trucks, and people have spent less. Like all that COVID money's gone. So people are spending less, and there's still too many trucks. And so the prices of shipments are super, super low. So that's been about 28, 29 months. And unfortunately, I do not see that changing. Everybody was waiting on, we were hoping that Q4 may be different because of what's called peak season, which basically means people are buying stuff for their kids for Christmas, whatever. So it's called peak season. And so we were hoping to see some upticks then, but we're not really seeing it. And even when there has been some weeks where there's been more freight, it's like taking that cup of water and pouring it in sand and dusty floor. The capacity is soaking it up immediately. So it's not changing the market rates, and so it's kind of low. So so I'll share you some stuff too that may be interested in some or to some. But so commercial real estate, I have a lot of friends in commercial real estate because they sell industrial warehouse space. So for Colliers, JLL, I have some that own their own companies. I invest with them sometimes, right? And they're in trouble too. So some people overbuilt, and the rates are changing. The interest rates went up. So a property that and they do like kind of what's considered a balloon payment. I'm kind of trying to watch. I want to speak in layman's terms here, but basically like a 5-year deal where, you know, you got to either refi it or either like pay the loan off outright. And so if they refi it, so either you got to come up with the cash to pay the building off outright, and the building's worth less money now, or you know, try to refi. But if they refi it was at, you know, 5% before, and now it's at 12%, whatever the number is. It doesn't cash flow anymore. So the banks are kind of sitting on bad commercial paper. So they're also the truckers in trouble as well. So there are some banks that are sitting on bad trucking debt, but they don't want to take the truck. What I'm going to do with the truck right now? Like it's trucks everywhere. Like I don't need a truck. So I'm hearing that they are delaying, waiting, kicking the can down the road to see what happens. But we need and this is going to sound really bad. We need some companies to go out of business. That's going to sound really, really bad, but you have to understand economics and how it works. Like it's the system has to correct itself. It has to flush itself out. And so, because otherwise, like, so if nobody can lose, I'm gonna just say it. So if nobody can lose a house, then prices will never come down. They'll only go up. If I don't have to pay nothing, if I don't have to do anything, then it causes inflation. Does that make sense? So that there are no opportunities to buy that Nike shirt on a discount. There is no Dick's Sporting Good warehouse where I can get it if somebody didn't buy too much inventory. So that's kind of the free market. That's kind of the way that it works. And so because of that, that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, I don't know when that's going to happen, but until the market flushes itself out, it's going to stay like that, and we don't know how long that's going to be until some are going out of business, like Yellow Freight. You all heard about Yellow Freight maybe a year ago or something. At this point, went out of business or whatever. Even all that capacity, a company called Ritchie Brothers bought a lot of their trucks, and they're just sitting on them. It's nothing to do with them. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I'm praying it's soon because it's rough out here in these streets, bro. You know, so yeah, I ain't gonna lie. Yeah. So we're all hoping and praying that it changes some point soon.
So when it comes to theft in the industry, like if your shit was stolen, have you found it to be more of like a massive, like a big problem in the industry, or more just general nuisance?
Nah, it's growing now. It's growing. The level of sophistication of people working together to steal trucking identities, and the reason they're stealing the trucking identities so they can act like they're another driver and get it diverted to another company and then steal it, it's growing, and it's pretty bad. Because like I said, trucking has been very blue collar. And like I said, my dad was a shipping and receiving supervisor. He didn't go to college, so I'm not saying that in a nefarious way. I'm just saying that we're antiquated, like the way we move. The industry's always been kind of the way that it's been. And so they have found that, oh wow, supply chains are vulnerable. You know, these trucking companies, like you look at the trucking company website, it's not pretty and glossed, like it's, you know, so they're vulnerable. So they have found that vulnerability, and they're hitting in it hard, which is increasing the amount of freight fraud, big. I mean, it's stuff where it's costing millions of dollars. But the problem is, so, and I'll give you the example that I had. The load picked up in Calexico, Cali, which is along the Mexico border, and it was metal, and it was supposed to go to Arizona. Somebody called the driver that had it, waited for them to pick it up, called them, had them take it somewhere else. So I called Calexico, California police. I couldn't get them to write a report. Then I called LA, and they said, well, where this happened? What happened to your location? Well, but you got pictures? Like, no, we don't have pictures. They wouldn't help. So I literally had to call. I live in Frisco. I had to call the Frisco PD and call in a favor, like, bro, like, who do I gotta, talk to here to get a freaking police report for something that happened in California? Because the police, like, they're dealing with, Bobby just stabbed Jackie over here or something, like real-time things that are in their city. So they're not as helpful as they should be. So law enforcement is behind. Because who cares about like a $100,000 stolen load of like metals? Like, I'm not gonna allocate resources to that. And then I'm like, yeah, I'm in Texas. Yeah, and they're in Cali. It's like, oh, well, okay, I can't, and I'm not gonna fly out there you know, to do it, you know, it's gonna cost me a few grand to fly out there and hang out for one load. So, so it's a real issue. It's a lot of vulnerabilities, and I can't say the police aren't. Their hands are tied, and we're working on legislation to try to fix it. But they're slick, man, and it's a lot of foreign actors that's doing it too. And I don't mean like they're inherently evil because they're foreign. I just mean since they're out of the jurisdiction, I'm gonna fly to like Bosnia, you know, to arrest somebody for $100,000 metal load. Like where they do that at? You know, so that's not gonna happen.
So did you get that resolved, or was one of those things you just got a truck?
Man, that metal's gone. Long gone. So that's a good question. So how do I help? So here's why I needed the police report, because I gotta take the police report as proof to that carrier's insurance that got the load stolen, because I'm gonna file a claim against that carrier's insurance. Because the customer's gonna file a claim against me as the broker. So I gotta have this police report as proof, as documented proof that this load was actually stolen, and then take that to the carrier's insurance company, who under their driving of it was stolen. And then I'll get paid from them, and then I'll pay the customer.
Is there any like implementation on like your side of the house to better implement the procedures that would handle that, or is that completely on like your third party?
No, it's not. No, you do the best that you can. That's a good question. You
But
do
for
the
that
best.
instance, what was like y'all's directive change once that was stolen? Like how many have y'all had stolen to make sure like, hey, what is our procedure?
Well, I've not had any. I'm just saying, like my team, we didn't. This is the first one I've had since in 2005. So, but what's changing is that their techniques are changing. Like with criminals, like so. You remember when I was saying that everything you kind of learn. That's why your teacher can't tell you about the future necessarily, because everything you're learning is based on the past. So I learn from past mistakes. I'm in industry magazines. I'm reading them. I'm on this podcast. That so I'm learning and hearing. The industry has knowledge and information, but a new technique may come up that all that data that's useless because they just created a whole new technique. So this one, what did we learn in this one? That with this one, of the new app, the new thing was you need to talk. So we do have our own truck drivers in our own. But we also use partner carriers, and we use a partner carrier, like an outside owner operator on this particular ship. And that's fine, that's pretty normal. But what we didn't do was we should have dispatched that driver ourselves, and we talked to that driver's dispatcher. So, and which normally that's fine. But now we're like, we can't even do that anymore. Now we gotta talk directly to the driver with that direct driver's cell phone number versus through that company's dispatchers. Because like even at Schneider, you can't really talk to the driver. Like we have a dispatcher assigned to that region who dispatches the drivers. But now I'm like, okay, I gotta, if we can, like it may get to the point where I gotta talk direct to the driver that's driving that puppy ourselves to protect us.
I was curious because I know that it's a real kink in playing the paddle. Like
It is.
I understand. I was curious to where I didn't know if it was gonna have to go all the way down to the nitty-gritty for y'all to do that.
Yeah, we're really talking about like we may need to just talk to the driver outright, and that goes against what the industry does. But if this is what the bad guy's doing, if that was the loophole, then we got to solve it. You know. I saw you had your hand up first.
How did you work on your negotiation skills in this industry?
Got married. No, I'm joking.
No, you're not.
I gotta say I'm joking in case my wife sees this. So, how did I work on negotiation? It's gonna sound stupid, but by negotiating, putting yourself in situations where you have to negotiate.
So you learn as you go.
Well, so let me say this. So here's the beauty of the world now. It's nothing you can't learn online. It's nothing you can't read about. I mean, I can want to learn to speak Urdu. I can learn to want to speak anything. And it's courses or whatever out there. So that's the first place I start. There are basic techniques that you can learn about negotiating. Like I'll tell you, one basic technique is that it's generally better to ask for information than to share information. The more I know that you don't know, it puts me in a better position than you to negotiate. Another technique that I know would be called nibbling. we come to a negotiation, we come to the table, like, you know, we've agreed on the property, we've agreed on the price of the house, and you're all excited to buy, and then at the very end, I'm like, you know what, man, I looked at it and thought about it again, I need you to throw this in, or else I can't do it. It's called nibbling. So I can get some concessions, because you're desperate to buy at that time and move forward, and so that's a good time to ask. The person with the longest time horizon wins. If you're under time pressure and I'm not, then I win. You see what I'm saying? So I want to know, what kind of time pressure are you under? Like, when you got to make a decision by? That's why I'm asking you questions, and but I'm going to divert it and not answer questions. So I learned it through learning, through going through it, but then through taking courses, through reading books. Like there's a book called, and I read a crap ton. I've been a nerd since I was a kid. But there's a book called "You Don't Get What You Deserve, You Get What You Negotiate," and that's a good book, and it's true.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know if you said this already, but going back to like the whole thing with the scrap metal, when they call, do they call the dispatcher or the driver? Because like I feel like if they call the dispatcher, like they're really at a loss. But if they just call the driver, then like the dispatcher can like view like, hey, what are you doing? You're off course, kind of thing. Like you don't have that tracking system.
I think they called the driver.
Okay.
The driver said that he got diverted.
So
I still don't know how. I mean, like it's the. Go ahead. I don't want to interrupt you. Say what now?
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, no, you're good. You're good. Sorry. I hope I didn't interrupt you, but we believe that they called the driver and then told the driver, "Here's your new," impersonating the company that the driver worked for, and saying, "Hey, take this load here instead."
I feel like just like a simple tracking device of some sort.
So bingo. So remember when I said earlier that I think that in the future of the industry, there's going to be technology. What do you call it? Nanotechnology? I don't know. I'm probably dumb or something, but you call it something like where you could take a sticker and put it on it, but that sticker has tracking devices. Then you really would know in real time where it is. But we've been talking about that for 15 years. You know, but RFID was what they called back then. But we've been talking about that for 15 years, and nobody's done that yet. But I think every product, everything, it could be on the box, it could be on the product itself, it could be whatever. That way, you'll know where stuff is. You'll know where it is at all times. You know, and so we will be able to see where it is. You know, now eventually the bad guys will figure out, oh well, let me just take this thing off. You know, yeah. But yeah.
What's your view or opinion on the advancement of drone transportation?
I think it's dope, man. So Wings, Walmart partnered with Wings, and I'm loving seeing those things flying. I think it's incredible. The things that are being delivered are like that pen, that little cup, like nothing heavy yet. But I think that eventually that'll come. Now that's gonna be a liability. Like I don't want like a Ford F-150 flying in the sky, you know. And then, because if that fall off, it's gonna be some real big problems. But you know, if it's a case of beer or something, maybe I don't know. You know, that hurt too. So I don't know. So it depends on what it is. So right now at the WalMarts in Frisco, not all of them. At the one up the street from me, they got the Wings, and they sit there, they pick up, you know, little things, man, like this hat stuff that won't hurt nobody, you know. And so I think it's amazing. And then we're seeing it in war. Unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, so that's kind of scary. But it's a cool technology. So there's another, interesting enough. So I'm having a conversation with a guy with a company, and what they do is they take, and this is a true story on LinkedIn. So when I find out about you, or when I find out about somebody, I read like, this is America. Like you can reach out to anybody. Like it's not against the law. Like you can reach out to. It's not a big deal. Like, and then me, I'm so used to getting told, no, I don't care anymore. You know, what's one of my favorite sayings is, what's no mean to a small child? Almost nothing. Like it's not relevant. I don't attach my self-worth to a no. You know, and then that's no now. It doesn't mean it's no in 2 weeks or no in 2 months. But I saw online about a company that buys. They basically, and they doing a deal with the government where they have a large air freighter to ship air freight, and then they're doing what LTL. So have any of you seen LTL companies where they'll have a tractor in the front, and then they'll have like multiple pods in the back, like multiple whatever. So they have a plane that operates as the tractor on the front end, and then they have a plane with all the seats and everything removed out in the back, which has cargo. So they're going to be they ship, in theory, they're going to be shipping 2 cargo planes connected by some kind of mechanism together, like it's a truck in the sky. And that's a true story. I talked to them. I was like, wow, but they got to go through the FAA and get approved. And they said I forget the name of it. I wish I knew off the top of my head, but that question whoever asked it made me think about that.
Can you name the description of the plane? Maybe I heard. Maybe
I'll look it up.
Yeah.
You had your hand up earlier.
I did have a question, I want to bring it up everyone's time, so But so why is it frowned upon to call like the driver, like directly from something like that?
In larger companies in particular, like at Schneider, they got so many trucks that they have a structure where, so let's say that the dispatchers here in Dallas, that dispatcher will cover local Dallas drivers. They may have like 50 drivers doing a certain amount of drays per driver per day. Like they're the ones assigning that driver, and then this driver may have been about to pick up, but he was going to be late. Another driver opened up, so I'm assigning this driver to take it over there. So that's why usually it's a dispatcher. But if it's a smaller trucking company, then you'll do a better job of talking to the driver directly. And most of the market is made up of smaller mom and pop, a guy with 1-2 trucks. Most of the market is made up by them. The Schneiders, the Werners, the major players, the JB Hunts, they make up a very small fragment of asset-based trucking companies. It's usually, Uncle Leroy and my cousin Pee Wee or something. They have a truck together, So